What's good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's happening with the economic calendar moving forward, some very important things that just came out from the Fed and what you should be watching for as time progresses. But before I begin devil's information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, deposit $100, you are guaranteed 7 free stocks. This offer ends very soon, in just about 6 days from now. Anyways, for the markets, we did see this big rejection on SPY as we ended up dipping all the way down to the 528 area. And right now, SPY is showing some weakness, so is the market after we got some huge news that just came out. So what is the news? What's happening with the markets? Let me explain. We just had the FOMC minutes come out. So let me note something very important. The FOMC minutes gave us a summary of what other Fed officials had to say about the markets. I want to note that when Jerome Powell was speaking during FOMC, he pumps the markets. He kept saying that inflation is once again going to likely come down. He's very confident that they're going to be fine. He's confident the Fed has everything under control. He just continued to say that the market loved it. Then we had some Fed speakers that spoke on Monday and Tuesday of this week, and they continued to pump the markets again, saying everything will be okay, this and that, right? They were also talking about how the Fed is on track of meeting their goals and this and that. That's why the market continued to pump for the last 2 days. The market continued to hold up. But then during the FOMC minutes, many of us would have speculated that maybe the Fed is going to just, maintain the same sentiment as that of Jerome Powell and others. But instead, they did the opposite. So this is what happened. At the FOMC minutes, the Federal Reserve minutes indicate worries over lack of progress on inflation, and we're seeing some very, very different views from the other Fed officials. So they're saying that once again, although inflation had eased over the past year, in recent months there's been a lack of further progress towards the committee's 2% objective, according to what they're saying. They're saying that various participants mentioned a willingness to tighten policy further, and they talked about how they're going to do it in case inflation materializes in a way that causes them to do it. On top of that, they also mentioned that inflation has been more stubborn than what they were expecting, and they're open to the possibility of raising rates if they have to. They also mentioned that some of them said that's unlikely they will do it, but once again, they have to wait for the next few months just to be safe. There's also been a lot of talk about how inflation is very, very stubborn. They said that's more stubborn than what they expected. They mentioned that although it eased, there's just so much more that they have to wait for in order for them to make more moves. And they're always willing to tighten more just in case things get out of hand. Now, is there a risk to higher inflation? They did mention that, yes, there are some upside risks to inflation based off geopolitical events. And they also mentioned that the pressure that inflation was having on consumers, especially those in the lower end of the wage cycle, are in a lot of trouble. They also mentioned that there's been a lot of difficulty, at least at bringing inflation down. When it comes to rate cut expectations, some of them, such as Governor Christopher Wallace, he basically said that he does not expect the FOMC to raise rates, but he did warn that they need to see what happens over the next several months to do so. So his confidence is not as high as before. So basically, Jerome Powell had a different view. These Fed officials have a different view as well. That's why the market's responding this way. And you can also see what Walter Bloomberg ended up saying. He mentioned that several Fed officials mentioned raising rates if inflation warrants it. And on top of this, the FOMC minutes, the Fed officials are not they're noting very disappointing inflationary readings from the first quarter, and they're discussing holding rates steady for longer if inflation does not fall. So it's a little bit more hawkish for many of them out there. With all that data coming out, that's why the market ended up dipping the way it has. We're trying to rebound a little bit right now, but just be very careful. Whether the market continues to pump or if the market gets a big rug pull at this point now depends on Nvda. We have 1 hour left of market trading. If you want to hold overnight, that is your choice. It might work out very well, it might not. So just be very, very mindful of this. It all depends on Nvda now. So the market is in a very, very critical place. So what do I see for the charts moving forward? Honestly, guys, SPY is still holding support at 528. We haven't really lost the support quite yet. So watch this resistance right over here. The first thing I'll watch for is 529. That's where we have these wicks right here. 529.5, then 530.8 are going to be our next main resistance levels. For support, I'm going to be watching 528. If we lose 528, that's going to be a sign of weakness. But the chart and the levels are not everything. It also depends on Nvidia's earnings. So if you're holding anything overnight for SPY, just know that Nvidia's earnings comes out very soon. And that's going to be a big determiner of how the market is going to end up performing. So just be careful. As of right now, we are looking a little bit weak, but Nvidia is either going to launch us back to the 530s, or we're about to get a big rug pull to the 526s to 525s. We'll just have to wait and see. For Nvidia right now, we're still holding up well. We're only down 1%. But let me make it very clear, after earnings comes out, Nvidia is either going to launch new all-time highs into the 1,000 plus area, or we're about to get a big rug pull. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens with Nvidia's earnings. I don't know, guys. Anything could happen, so make sure you're open-minded and you're prepared for anything. We will see if this thing explodes to the 1,000s or not, or if we're about to get that rug pull back down to the 800s. It's either going to the 800s or it's either going to the 1,000s, in my opinion. We'll have to wait and see. So I'm always open-minded just to be safe. For Tesla, we came all the way down to 178. We'll have to see if that holds at least for the remainder of the day. As of right now, it's holding that up relatively well. So we'll have to see if that ends up being the case. For the way Tesla moves, if we end up losing 178, yes, we could be dipping all the way down to the 175 area. And if we bounce, we're going to be looking for 180, then 182 as resistance. We kind of popped and then dropped back down on Tesla. We're kind of shuffling right now. So we will see. The biggest determiner now is not just the Fed, but also Nvidia's earnings. Will Nvidia launch Tesla all the way back to the 182 plus area, or are we about to get a big rug pull and start sinking all the way down to our imbalances in the low 170s? In my opinion, I'm in the middle, guys. We'll just have to wait and see what Nvidia does, but that's going to be key for how we move. If you're holding anything overnight, then just be very, very mindful of that. The QQQ is still on an uptrend, still holding up support. But if we lose support at 453 and Nvidia does not do well, we could be dipping all the way down to 450 or below. If we end up doing very well, Nvidia starts, helping the QQQ push, we could be breaking all-time highs again. So I'll be watching that very carefully. For Aapl, we have this resistance all the way up here at this 191.64 to 192 area, and we have support all the way down here towards this imbalance at 189. We'll see which way we break depending on Nvidia's earnings. That's going to be pivotal for the way the market ends up moving. For Bitcoin, we are currently shuffling at the 50 EMA. If we lose the support right here at 69,000, we're going to be looking for a dip towards 67,000. Our resistance happens to be around 70,000, or a little bit under that. If we do break past 70,000, look for a pushback up to 70,500. Otherwise, we're just kind of trading sideways right now within a range. The entire day has just been trading sideways in this range, so it might just maintain this. So I'll be waiting to see. I am seeing a little bit of weakness in the chart right now, so we'll just have to give it some time. Even the Fed is kind of like affecting the flow of crypto. For a few more, we have Coinbase. Coinbase kind of got a rug pull. It actually went all the way up to about 240 before coming back down towards 224. Now we're back over here in the 230 area, kind of shuffling. So it's still all range bound between 220 and 240. Might remain like this for quite some time, so we'll see how this continues. For Amazon, we are dipping a bit. We could continue to fall a little bit more towards the lower 180s. That's always a strong possibility for Amazon moving forward. We also have resistance at 183, but right now Amazon is showing a little bit of weakness. We will see if Amazon gets another rug pull back down to 180, or if we get a big bounce. I'll be waiting for that as well. It's going to be key for how this ends up moving. Same thing with Meta. Will Meta get a rug pull all the way down to 465 then 463, or are we about to launch up to 478? There's a head and shoulders like structure developing that does look a little bit more bearish, but just to be safe, I will wait and see and remain patient as I typically am. And then for GameStop, we have a nice inverse head and shoulders. If we hold above 20 and continue to push, we want to see it break 24. If that breaks, we turn bullish. GameStop could actually get a bounce. If we lose 19, GameStop turns bearish and we're going to start sinking. As of right now, it's holding up well. AMC is also approaching 5, like I've been calling out for quite some time. It is showing some life, so we'll see how things go. The market is wild, guys. Sometimes the Fed says unexpected things, and sometimes these Fed officials could be all over the place, right? We had Jerome Powell who was pumping the markets. Now we have these other Fed officials who caused the rug pull all over the place, guys. We'll just be very, very patient. So get ready for Nvidia's earnings. I'm not going to be back until after earnings comes out. I'll give you guys a report on it. So be patient. We'll see how things go. I just want to say I really appreciate every single one of you. Thank you for listening, guys. Have a great day. We'll see how Nvidia's earnings goes, and peace out.